Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany Simon, and we do philosophy through pop culture. We're watching Love is Blind UK Season 2, Episode 5. We're using real people's lives to learn about our own. Let's see what happens.
First holiday with a guy. What a place to do it with.
No, I know.
And with me as well. I'm privileged.
I'm so lucky. And it just feels amazing to feel like this with you so quickly.
Okay, so it showed a montage of all the couples. They're on vacation. They're happy. Everyone's just having a blast. This is Billy and Ashley, and I'm looking at my prediction notes, and I did predict they'll say no at the altar. I feel like on paper they look really good together, but something about them just like isn't clicking for me. But to be fair, I also felt the same way about Javen and Katisha, and who is this? Kieran and Megan. Even though right now in the editing, everyone's really happy. And not to spoil it for me or you, but the title of this episode is called I Don't Want to Be a Villain, and it's insinuating that one of the girls is going to start questioning her union with one of the guys, and who knows who it could be, right? It could be any of them. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Seen my mum go through a few relationships where men obviously not being the best towards her, which has definitely affected how I act and approach relationships with men. I do find it really hard to trust.
I think that's not me. I don't think I know how to be anything other than myself. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so Megan and Kieran are just talking about her past. She talked about this earlier in the pod, so we do have some understanding of her mom's history. It's interesting that's coming up again, and she is saying that, it causes trust issues between her and men. These are obviously things that I think, and this is just my opinion, in the world we think finding the love of our life will fix, but I actually just think you have to go to therapy and you have to do philosophical work, because at the end of the day, we are products of our environment. And we can't expect the people we fall in love with to deeply understand the impact of our childhood in a way enough to help us in a way that a professional should be. Sometimes society tells you, just fall in love and it will get fixed. But I really do think we have to do the work to deconstruct our upbringings.
Cared about you real quick. In those pods, I developed a real sense of caring for you really soon, which who knew you could fall in love through a wall? I did. I'm not ashamed to say it.
It's not that I don't want to say it. I just feel like there's a right time.
Oh, okay. So it's Katisha and now Megan are two of the women who haven't said I love you to their men. Because if I remember, Javen hasn't said it to Katisha, and that's why Ashley was so concerned. But now we're finding out Megan also hasn't said it. That's really interesting. Okay.
I feel like I've never truly been in love, and I feel the feelings I'm feeling, and I'm super excited.
Interesting that the two girls Kieran was interested in, both Sophie and Megan, say they've never really truly been in love. And that's sort of interesting.
But I just feel like I need to take my time, and there'll be a right time to say it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely don't think they should be forced to say I love you. I actually had that happen in my 20s where I wasn't ready. And the person I was hanging out with and even the people around us were like, you have to say it, you should say it. And I do think it's really strange about it. To be fair, I had huge trust issues, right? I was in my 20s. I had major trust issues, and it's just such a different experience. And then, of course, you turn it around and I'm in love with my partner and I'm married, and we said I love you so quickly, right? And we've just, it was the best decision I ever made to do life with this person. But a big part of the reason I think that made it so easy was that we actually were high compatibility. We actually did love each other, and we were significantly just in a better place in our lives versus people I dated in my 20s were also struggling. So it's not just one side was good, one side was bad. It's just we were all struggling. And so it was a bunch of struggling people, dating struggling people, and we all needed therapy. We all needed intervention and help, and none of us were getting it. We were all just dating and having sex and partying and trying to use that as a way to feel better. Even though people, talked about therapy and we attempted to do well, at the end of the day, not enough of us got therapy fast enough. I mean, I didn't get therapy till I was I think I was 28. How old was I in 2017? I was too old. I should have gotten therapy years before that, right? There's something to be said about how much this needs to be helped in an office with a professional, again, with your mental health. We're talking about the brain. We're talking about childhood trauma. We're talking about things that people go to school to study, right? We're not talking about your friends being your therapist. We're not talking about, some form of therapy that helps you in different. We're talking about a person who studies the brain, who understands how your life is impacted by the way you're raised, your genetics, and so on and so forth. That's why we go to a professional, because they study this. They go to school for this, right? And of course, you still have to find a therapist that works for you. It makes sense for your brain. It can't just be any therapist. It should be somebody who is helpful to you. So if it's not helping, find a different therapist. Okay. I don't want to make it sound like therapy is this one size fits all. It's not. It's just one of the steps in many, right? There's many steps. So I guess all of this to say, I don't see it as a huge red flag that she hasn't said I love you. I think this social experiment forces people to do things that are just not normal.
When you say I love you to someone, obviously the thing you want to hear back is I love you too. So when you don't get that, it's a little bit of egg on the face, but I'm prepared to wait for Meg to say I love you. Hopefully not too long. There is a wedding pending and I would like to hear that for the reassurance before we get married.
Definitely like makes sense. If she doesn't say I love you before the marriage, it'd be kind of insane to get married.
Like British in the past, where I live, like from Wigan, it's working class, predominantly white town, so
Yeah.
I guess that's just what I fell into in the dating world. We're here on this experiment for a reason. It's because we haven't found love yet, and if you like someone, it doesn't matter where they're from, what colour the skin is. If you love that person, then types don't exist.
Okay, if you love that person, types don't exist. I agree with the premise. I agree that like skin color and things like that shouldn't matter. And as a pansexual person, gender doesn't even matter. So I would just say that, you know, it's good to reassure her. It's also good to admit that the town you grew up in, you know, we usually date within proximity and we usually date with the people around us. And so it impacts, you know, your dating pool and then your dating history. And so, you know, we have to take all of that into consideration.
I definitely feel like I've found love, and I've said that, and when I said it, I meant it. If anything, it's only gotten stronger since then.
We both said I love you when the time felt right, when we first met, and it's still there. Like you said, growing stronger. He is in love with me, so that's all that matters.
They do seem happy.
After meeting other couples, like, I still believe that me and you are the strongest. I obviously don't want to be judgmental on other people's relationships, but I did actually pull Katisha for a chat at the pool party, and do find it strange that she went with Jav. A lot of respect for him, but also Demo was a very good friend of mine, and when it hurt him, it kind of hurt me as well at the same time to see him hurt. I hope she made the right decision.
I don't know if this storyline is being pushed by producers that he's like deeply concerned about Damala, or if that's just how he is with his boys. I still think it's like inappropriate the way he intervened, but I also think that ultimately if Katisha and Javin don't work out, like that's just life. That's how it goes. That's the part of the experiment. And it's not because she's an evil, manipulative person. It's because she just doesn't know what she wants. And so, yeah, when you don't know what you want, you can hurt people. The same as being someone who's malicious and intentional. Yeah, sometimes not knowing you want is also very hurtful to people, which is why we owe it philosophically to ourselves and others to have a good relationship with self so we can have a good relationship with everything outside of ourselves, right? So that's why I encourage introspection, because I think if Katisha had a little bit more introspection, she could have been kinder to Damala and therefore Javen and therefore Cal and therefore her community and then, of course, herself.
Feel like yesterday, seeing everyone.
I was excited in the beginning.
Okay.
I was still excited in the end, but I definitely just need my thinking space. So I had a chat with Cal. This is obviously just my opinion. He was confused. I guess he didn't understand where I was at, like how I felt about you and why I chose you. And
Cal's like very straight up.
I can tell.
He just kind of says what's on his mind.
Interesting. Is Javen keeping something from her? Is he being honest about what happened in the boys' room? Not that anything particularly happened, but you know, she seems blindsided by Cal approaching her. Javin didn't really give much for her to work on. Is she the girl who's going to question her relationship? Because if that's true, then like, once again, Katisha is that girl, but I don't know yet. I don't want to assume it's her just because she has a pattern. It could be somebody else. It's weird that Cal just needs to talk to her and then all of a sudden she's rocked again. It's like, if that's true, I guess we'll see. I guess I should just watch and see what happens. Let's see.
It was nice for me to like show you a little bit of like, I suppose, that other side of me to let me take the lead.
So in previous relationships, were you the driver? Were you wearing the trousers?
100%, yeah.
I don't know. It's not that I wouldn't like you to. It's just I'm not built that way. I don't know. I'd like to care for my woman, make sure she's all right. And
Don't get me wrong, you know, I didn't feel like I had to be. It's just how I am as a person.
Uh-oh, so now we're having the clash of the tops. And this is the part of Barda's trope, or her character in the story, is they tend to be fairly independent and yet come from a traditional background. There's this like illusion by the red pill and alpha dudes on the internet that like, or even traditional conservative people will say like traditional marriage, as if women never worked. Women always worked. We just like, you had to be very privileged and very rich in the world to not work. You just didn't count the work necessarily, because women weren't working in the same traditional jobs, but women always participated in family structures. Even the women in my own family, coming from like a West Asian family where they always talk about traditional marriage, and yet my mom was working, or my aunties and uncles, our aunties and grandmas were working, or people in our family were working. It just like, it looked different. Some people were working jobs with a boss and a paycheck, or were their own boss. And some people were working the farm or something like that, but everybody was participating. So now they're having a conversation about driving and who's going to drive, which I know is also a conversation I had growing up, where some families think only men should drive if they're a couple. You know, not that a woman shouldn't drive, but that if her husband is around, then the husband should drive. And some couples, it's like always the woman drives. For me, I'm the driver. I'm used to driving. I don't mind driving. I've always been a primary driver in all of my relationships, but I'm not opposed to somebody else driving. Just like if I'm with a friend, I'm not opposed to them driving. It just depends on who wants to drive. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. So he's saying I'm not built that way. which is a construct. He can deconstruct it. Nobody is built in that particular way. Like, I have to drive a car. That is not a biological experience. You know, at least I wouldn't think so. I would think he could deconstruct that and feel comfortable with her driving the car. The question is she going to get to the point where never driving becomes almost like a, not like a disability, but like a chipping away at her sense of self? And if that's so, and he's willing to do it for the, you know, comfort of his own consciousness, like, is that him at the expense of her? That's what it sounds like to me. So my hope is that instead of it being attached to his ego and his sense of self who drives, it just makes sense in the moment to say, like, do you want to drive or should I drive? And to allow it to be something more natural instead of something more gendered as an expectation, right?
It's easy for me to just make decisions quickly, take the lead and just move on. I don't really like to leave things lingering.
Yeah, so how would you feel, obviously, with me being like a dominant kind of guy?
I think it's going to take some getting used to, just because I'm just so used to doing everything on my own.
Yeah, that's something that we probably both have to get used to. Like, we're both very strong, independent people.
I think Jed is not ready to let go of being the man of the household, but I'm very independent. I like to get things done my way. So yeah, there's going to have to be room for two.
Interesting, because I believe in the pods, the thing that stood out for me was she liked that he was talking about, I want to take care of my woman. I want to be the man. And I wondered if she really meant that because she's so successful and so put together. You know what I mean? It's this conundrum of women want to be rescued and they want to be independent. But I think that's because we're not deconstructing the patriarchy. I think we're brought up in a world that's confusing. Like my dad, he always told me he raised me to run a business because he owns a business, has owned a business for 30 years. Okay. And then at the same time, my mom was like, I'm going to raise you to be a stay-at-home mom. So I was being raised in two different directions. And then here I'm at 36 choosing not to have kids and focus on my job. And they're like, what about kids? And I was like, well, you kind of raised me for both options and I'm choosing the work option. Not that you can't have both. You know, these are separate things. You can have both if you want. I am running the business. I am choosing to have a business. So it's just kind of interesting. Like your parents raise you in a bubble that says be traditional, but also be a man. And under patriarchy, it's like, what does that look like? So I feel like there's some deconstruction that could happen here for both of them in a way that could help them get closer, not farther apart. Though, of course, if it does take them in different directions, that's also okay.
She's never said it before. She's never been in love. So, but yeah, I'm going to need to hear it before I marry the girl, that's for sure.
When she does say it, it's going to mean so much more to you.
To be fair, I haven't said it. She hasn't said it. To say I love you is like very difficult for me to just come out with that. I feel like...
Okay. I really appreciated this moment. So Kieran, the boys are being vulnerable. He's saying, Megan hasn't said I love you. You can see that's sort of hurtful. Javen says, to be fair, I haven't said I love you. She hasn't said I love you either, which is comforting, I'm sure, to Kieran. So I'm glad he said that.
We need more time. We need more experiences together for me to say it. For me, it's a heavy, heavy word.
How are you feeling about Kieran meeting your family?
I'm super excited. I feel like we can both just like fit into each other's worlds like so easily. How do you feel about the family situation?
I think my family will love him. He just talks like so proudly of wanting to be that provider. I said like first date, woo me.
Yeah, you need to be
But
worried.
like, you know, second date onwards, like I'm happy to pay.
See, okay, they're talking about I'm happy to pay. Like he can woo me first date, but I'm happy to pay. Okay, my marriage, everything is combined. There is no my money, your money. Sorry. Like I know other people do that. It just like, it feels too roommate for me personally. And I've never shared money in any other relationship. And I understand why they would hesitate to share money because, you know, this might not be their person after all. But I really don't like the idea of being with somebody for 90 years and, you know, being like, well, you spent this and you spent this and we had this and, you know, it would drive me absolutely crazy. So my marriage works the same way my parents' marriage did. And how we were raised by our parents, which is like our money is our money and we put it into a pot and the pot gets pushed out into the proper, you know, budgeting requirements, rent and utilities and all that stuff. And then we have different budgets for different things. But at the end of the day, like it's our money. So, you know, that added stress of like, we're married, but obviously like, let me pay for dinner doesn't make sense. Like if you pay for something, we've paid for something. So it's, you know, it's just weird. Now I could see in the future, maybe, you know, we both have our own spending money for whatever we want and someone saves up their spending money and buys you a gift. It's still our money. But it's like an extra gesture of like, I use the money from my fun money for you. Like maybe something like that could happen. But overall, it's still our money. You know, like we don't make a dollar without the participation of the team. At the end of the day, it's a team deal, you know, not that, because, you know, I'm the breadwinner in the family. Like I make the money. I'm not a provider. I just make the money, but I'm not a provider. Like I don't provide I don't like that narrative. I think it's a patriarchal term that it kind of diminishes your partner's participation in the relationship. And I think it's meant to sort of make people feel important in a relationship. And I don't need to feel important in my relationship because I already not superior, at least to my partner. And I feel like under patriarchy, that's what men use it for. They use it as like, I paid, it's my money, as if that means like I do more in the relationship. And that's why I don't like to use that word. I actually have a whole podcast about provider relationships. I'll link it down below. But with that said, I see some issue here with the disconnect a little bit. I think you can be an independent woman who likes a more traditional feeling man. I think that's very possible. I just think it comes out in more of the way that you're intimately doing things, much more than paying and money and keeping tabs on who paid for what, right?
And obviously in the culture, like my brothers would never let me pay for anything. And I think he's very much like, I'll take care of it.
Yeah, I think we should deconstruct these types of beliefs because I have 8 brothers and we each pay for each other. You know, we're happy to pay for one another, gender aside, because again, like the irony of this culture that Barta loves is also the reason why Jed is fighting her about driving a car and paying for things. Deconstruct the expectations that because of your gender, X behavior must follow.
In fact, do you feel like almost something is missing, or is it fine?
No, it's fine. It's just probably something that we have to probably adapt to.
Living together, being together, everything was communication.
Right.
Okay, everyone's being like very comforting and talking through things. Yeah, this is why I think gender doesn't play a role in my marriage. I don't have to have these conversations. We do not have these issues because it doesn't matter. Our gender is not the reason we do things. We do things to be helpful and loving and kind and caring and compassionate. Our identities aren't, you're not going to break my confidence by doing a chore, or, I'm not going to break my partner's confidence by paying the bills. Our egos and our confidence aren't reliant on our partner being helpful in a way that doesn't coincide with our gender. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. This is why we deconstruct these things. This is why I recommend it to you, so your life can be easier and happier. Just remember, this conversation wouldn't even be happening if they deconstructed the gender expectation in their relationships.
I think the hardest part is obviously going from like pods and not ever seeing them to now just being together. But
all your time together, isn't it?
Right. The first couple of days, it was weird.
Oh.
I'm not going to lie, mate. Big thing that stood out to me whenever we were chatting to Matt and Emma, you said about you're happy to date again. Me and Ash have already talked about it. If I say no or she says no at the altar and it doesn't work, I don't know if I could just go to dating, because I come here to fall in love and to marry someone.
Oh, so they got engaged, but they're still dating. So they're not really engaged. And Billy's saying, I couldn't do that. Ooh, maybe Billy and Ashley will say yes at the altar.
I guess it's still raw that you and Demola was close and he got the rug pulled at the last minute. It was a sad news for him and very good news for you.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? Do you think about him?
Oh.
We've spoken about it, but the main thing is more trying to understand, like, how did you feel this way one day? Then
that's literally what I asked her.
Obviously, looking at it from Katisha's side, it must have been such a hard position to be in and such a hard decision for her. You've got to kind of give it to her in that sense.
I do sympathise a little bit, but also at the same time, she's already blindsided you in a good way, but the weddings are coming up and there could be an even bigger one on the cards.
Yeah, I think they're really miscategorizing Katisha as like cruel and vindictive. But like I said, it doesn't really matter to a lot of people because the end result is still being wishy-washy and, promising one thing and switching it up. I mean, Katisha did say to Damala, I won't change my mind. I mean, talk about trust issues. And then she changes her mind. But, but at the same time, it is a social experiment. And at the same time, like, you have to be somewhat empathetic. And I agree with Cal that you can only be so sympathetic. But also, I feel like no one's actually seeing her. So no one's actually understanding why she's doing what she's doing. And if they really saw her, they'd probably break up with her. If Javen really, really saw her, he'd probably just break up with her. And honestly, if Katisha had any sense of responsibility, she would break up with Javen and give him a chance to be with someone else because she's obviously not ready. But that's why they're dating, because they're not ready. And, they're probably not. I wrote down that they're not going to make it. So I won't be surprised.
I'm not a man who cares about people's opinions, to be honest. Ideally, I'd like to get married with Katisha and complete this process. I also have to keep in mind that a lot of the boys, they're questioning the whole Demola thing, and I get that. So that's a conversation that I'm going to bring up because I want to know what she said to him to give him confidence.
Does he not know that she told him that I'm not going to change my mind? Maybe he doesn't know, and maybe Cal does because Cal was friends with him. Oh.
Doesn't seem like she wants to express that.
Oh no, I didn't know that he might not know.
The fact that you haven't said I love you and he hasn't said I love you back, is that playing on your mind? Like,
absolutely not.
Ashley!
Ashley, look at...
Mind your business. She's actually like, I don't know what she's doing. She's a little bit too much for me, but let's see if she seems to have good intentions, but let's see what she says.
I feel like Demola, yes, of course we had a connection. It's not fair for me to say yes to somebody that I'm not 100% sure about. My whole life has been very, sorry.
Yeah, so she's trying to put up a front that she's very confident and she knows knows what's up, but now she's crying. She says she felt peace with Javin, but I don't know, girl. Did you? And again, I'm not saying she should have chose either of the men. I think she's not ready to get married. I don't even think she should be on the experiment, to be honest.
It wasn't him. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. It's more how I feel. Like, I need to feel like I can be myself. I just need to feel calm. Like, everything about my life is so chaotic.
You've brought yourself up to be such a strong, independent woman, and you've picked the man that is going to support you through that. But I just want to make sure that, are you ready to marry him?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Interesting. So Ashley's being quite forward. Maybe they're closer than I perceived, but she's like, are you sure you're ready to marry him? I wonder what Ashley's hesitation is. I guess it's the I love you stuff that they haven't said it. But then, Katisha's saying, yes, like, I do want to marry him.
Do you have, like, why do you have doubts about us? Like, why do you ask?
All I ask is the fact that you're marrying this man for the rest of your life.
I just feel like, can I be fine? I did not take the decision lightly. I truly...
Yeah, everyone should just mind their business and let Katisha crash and burn with Javen. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know why they're trying to rescue them. They're strangers. You guys don't even know these people. Like, let it crash and burn. They're adults. They can handle it. I trust them. I guess I don't know why they're all trying to intervene ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? I guess they all got friendly in the pods, and I understand that. But it just feels like, I don't know. In other seasons where people get involved, it doesn't feel as inappropriate, but something feels really weird here. I don't know what it is. What do you guys think?
I don't want to be a villain.
You are no villain, babe.
Yeah, Katisha says she doesn't want to be the villain. They are definitely trying to turn her into one. I think that's the wrong categorization for her. And at the same time, and this goes back to what I said before, and I just got to say it again, you don't have to be malicious to end up being villainous. And so, I mean, you do technically, but kind of not really. Like, I just want you to know that you can do evil even with good intentions. The road to hell is paved in good intentions. Katisha owes it to herself and other people to be introspective so she doesn't keep hurting people. But there's not like a real conversation that's being had. And if she's withdrawing and omitting information to Javen that doesn't give him a chance to have informed consent, then there's an issue. Because we need to be able to give informed consent, especially when it comes to marriage, right? Which is why you got to put it all on the table and take that risk of someone saying no, because they have a right to know before they marry you.
A bit emotional about it, actually.
So she made you cry?
She made me cry.
Okay.
I guess she got that out of me and it was intense.
I hear what they're saying, but you're a grown woman, so you make your own decisions, right? So it doesn't really matter what they say at the end of the day. Like,
he just reminds me so much of my little brother. It's just like, he answers like a kid. He talks like a kid. He talks like a kid trying to pretend to be a man.
What is that? That doesn't make sense. This isn't real.
Okay, so there's been a transition. We're now out of the vacation. We're into the apartments and we're into the real world. They just got their phones back.
For me, I just want to keep living in our little fantasy bubble.
Been on holiday, you're engaged to me, and I haven't even got your number.
Apprehensive about living with Billy just because I've never done it with a guy before. But I'm enjoying giving Billy like a bit more of me each day. I respect my dad, and it's the first time I've made life-changing decisions without perhaps even having any advice from him.
Okay, so Ashley is saying that she's never really made a big life decision without her dad's input. So this is going to be a really big deal having to tell him. And then they shared insecurities, which I think are really reasonable, about the fact that, I hope your family likes me. Ashley's never lived with a guy before. Big change. And I think that's interesting, right? Never having lived with a guy before. And again, I don't think you have to live with someone to really know everything about them. Everyone's different. But I would say that it is a difference. And it's nice when it works out really well. And it's kind of scary when it starts to not work out really well. But cohabitation, it could be a deal breaker. So I hope they cohabitate well.
What?
So what? I had to go to bed.
Cute. Cute. I like her whole energy of like, he doesn't seem, as a girly who posts kind of risque photos on Instagram. Like, I like the confidence I get from Kieran, not being ashamed or upset or, he's excited.
Oh my God, I'm embarrassed.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, not the topless pickies. Here he is. That's really tickled
Not me getting topless again.
That's really tickled me.
Yeah, I like how they're just showing each other just like unashamed. This is my Instagram. This is my social media. I just love they're so confident. Like there's just nothing to hide. I like that.
I think it's because I just think that's such a big thing. And I'm definitely feeling that. I just think there's going to be a right moment for it. Yeah, I'm just over the moon.
Oh, she said, I'm definitely feeling, but I feel like there has to be a right time for it. I don't know what that means because omitting it to me feels a little bit like a lie, but maybe that's my autism where like if I love somebody and I'm engaged to them and I don't tell them because I'm waiting for the right moment, that feels kind of crazy to me. But maybe she means it differently. Maybe she means something different.
The fact that you're Lebanese, I feel like it's so nice because we have loads of similarities in our culture.
To be honest with you, I actually didn't know how similar Albanian and Lebanese were.
Yeah.
The culture, the traditions.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy.
I really like Jed and Barda together. It's really cute. They're just talking about the overlap between Albanian and Lebanese culture and how there's so much of it, which is so nice. And these things can be very important to people. I mean, I always feel really excited when I make like an Assyrian dish and my partner eats it, and that makes me feel really good about myself. Though now that I'm plant-based, that has definitely been harder to make those dishes, but I've managed, I've made like a vegan dolma, which turned out really, really good. I'm gonna make a vegan kubeba or hummus kupi, like, cause I found a recipe for it, cause there are Assyrian vegan / plant-based recipes online everywhere, which is so exciting. But even so, just like sharing those things is important. And, it's a part of you, whether it doesn't even matter how ingrained in the culture you are. The fact is that you come from somewhere and you're connected to something, and it's nice just to share it with somebody.
And doing, I feel like, what you're supposed to do.
He said, I can see us doing what we're supposed to do, like when you're in love, making babies, having life together. The wording is interesting, but I would say that what he's trying to say is I can see a future with her. I can see growing old with her, which is nice.
You know what? I think the best thing about living with you is you're like a best friend and fiance in one.
True.
I can't count the amount of times that we've laughed.
True. That is the best part. The best part of having a person is just like it's your romantic partner and like a bestie in one. It really is. It's the bestie you do this sex stuff with. It's like the bestie you have the intimacy with. It's great.
I feel like everything that they've discussed or talked about is all assumed.
I think, obviously, I understand why they're asking questions, to be honest. When it went from the molars coming out feeling confident, and the next day it flipped.
Yeah.
I do want to know what was said. I'm more intrigued than anything.
Here it goes. Okay. Let's see if she's honest. Let's see if she's straightforward. It also looks like they might leave us on a cliffhanger because the episode's coming to an end. Let's see what happens.
In 24-hour period. You wouldn't walk around saying, I'm definitely going to walk away with this person, unless someone else is giving me confirmation that that's going to happen. If you don't want to tell me about it, you don't have to. Like, it's not a big deal. But
Interesting. This is what I mean by he's kind of a kid. He'll be like, if you don't tell me, it's not a big deal. But it is a big deal, and you have the right to know. And you should say, hey, I love you, or I like you. I'm glad we're here, but I do need to know this before I marry you. It's kind of important. So are you going to tell me or not? At the end of the day, I need to know these things before I consent to marrying you. But he's being like a kid. He's like, but I don't care though. Like, so important question here. Then he's like, but I don't care though. He's trying to act like nonchalant in a very serious situation, which is a sign of immaturity.
I just want to know. Like, if you don't want to tell me, you're not going to tell me.
I feel like what I said was silly. I think about it now. I really don't know why I said that. I told him not to worry.
Wow. She didn't just say, don't worry. She said, I'm not going to change my mind. That is a very important sentiment to me. And I don't mean to be pedantic about the specificity, but like, she didn't just say, don't worry. She said, I'm not going to change my mind. And that she changed her mind.
It's tough because obviously I want to back her corner, and I don't want people questioning her. The fact that she said, don't worry, to the molar, and it gives me a little bit of the sentiment of what that conversation was like.
So he's saying, I want to have her back, but then now he's going to try to have her back without the full story. Because on the playback, they're going to see what she said, right? Unless I'm misremembering, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty still fresh in my mind what she said. That she said, don't worry. Or don't worry, I'm not going to change my mind. So then I'm a little,
Going to be leaving the pods with her. Then the next day he gets a switcheroo. Is that behavior going to repeat itself? Yeah.
I do think the same behavior that led Katisha to overpromising to Damalo is going to show up in their relationship. And I do think it's a red flag because she's not healed enough to give stability and consistency to her partner, because she doesn't know herself enough to even understand what she wants or what she's going to be like in a week. So I do think it's a red flag. Just because of the context.
Oh my God, I'm actually like a lot more nervous than I thought.
You're nervous? How do you think I feel?
And the fact that he hasn't met anyone.
They're meeting her dad, Barry, and they are nervous. There's something really cute about how nervous they are.
Seriously, before this is huge today. It's happening! Are you okay?
I'm right, yeah. Good. How's it going?
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Good.
Billy's not my boyfriend, but he is my fiance.
Fiance? As in getting married, fiance?
I think I'm as nervous as Billy is right now. I'm shaking. Barry looks like such a kind of like not even that threatening, but now it just like his, I'm like, oh God, okay.
We are getting married.
You're getting married?
We met through a very crazy experience where we dated through not seeing each other. And you felt you wanted to propose to me.
I hope it is being edited by Netflix and that is not the way the conversation went, because it is quite sloppy. But his face is very judgmental, so that I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it's kind of, it makes you feel like a kid again. But then it also makes me feel defensive, so I can't tell. Like, but his face is like pretty judgmental, but then it could just be the editing from Netflix. Maybe his face doesn't even look like that. Maybe they're just choosing that frame because it looks the best. I don't know. Who knows?
I didn't realise I was coming to meet your future husband, that I thought he was a boyfriend.
Okay, now they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger, but that's a pretty okay edit so far. I think we just feel nervous because they're playing it up. But otherwise, I'm sure it's fine. It's weird. It's really weird, and it is shocking, and it can be strange. Telling people, you know, I've been away, here's what I've been doing. I mean, it is a weird situation. So I'm going to assume the edit is making me feel the anxiety that I'm feeling. So I guess we'll leave it there. That's definitely the cliffhanger they're leaving us on. And we'll see what happens next time. I guess the main thing I want to take away from this episode is it's okay not to be ready. It's okay to break up. It's okay not to be rushed to say I love you. It's okay to say it. It's okay to say I love you and not choose that person. It's okay to be in love and this not be your high compatibility partner. It's okay to be honest as long as you are working on making sure you and your partner and the people around you have informed consent. I think everything else is just what it will be. And right now, at least for the next episode, I am hoping that becomes kind of the focus, even though people probably wouldn't use that wording, informed consent. I think Javen deserves that informed consent before marrying Katisha. And I think, you know, I wish for everybody in Katisha's category to have a good relationship with themselves. You know, what we really take away from this episode is just how important it is to be introspective and to be extrospective. How am I feeling and what's my relationship in relation to myself and my relationship to everything outside of myself? Because these things have to have harmony, symbiosis, right? And a positive symbiosis. And when one is out of sync, it causes an issue, right? Wishing everybody luck. And I guess I'll see you for the next episode. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. And I will see you for the next one. Bye-bye.